This is a certified
Bob Sponge 10.
classic.
Hey there, gamers and gamettes. It's been a while since I've made a Survivor video. You're probably wondering, what in the world am I looking at right now? Well, these are all the people we are not going to be talking about today, because this is the Survivor Hall of Fame. Okay? Now, the most generous Hall of Fame in professional sports, as most people know, is the NBA. And approximately 3% of NBA players have made the Hall of Fame. So I really tried to keep this list under 5% Hall of Famers, and I managed to get it down to 4.67%. Yes, really. So, before we do that, this is the last Survivor video I'm probably going to make on this channel, at least until the next all-returnee season, because Survivor, it's just not as entertaining as it used to be. Season 50 was pretty good, even with the whack rules that are in place now, like the 26-day thing and budget cuts and all that sort of stuff. It's crazy how good Survivor can be with a actual good cast. Now, moving up to a more interesting list, we've got my personal favorites. Now, these are people who are by no means Hall of Famers. Most people probably wouldn't even be able to name these guys, but, you know, I just really like them. So, first of all, we got Roger from Season 2. We got Big Tom from Season 3. We got Frank from Season 3, probably the original Chud of Survivor. We got Lex, Sean, Kathy, Butch, Matthew, Sarge, James, Bobby John, Ian, Judd, Terry, Shane, Billy, probably the biggest gamer in Survivor history, or maybe second biggest, because we got Kenny over here, who was he was the original Smash Melee god, okay, the biggest gamer in Survivor history. He even had a gamer moment when he tried to connect with a young woman and was sort of indirectly rejected, and then flat out brutally rejected at the reunion show. But beyond that, we got John Rocker, another notable Chud. We got Keith, rest in peace. He's a Survivor legend in our hearts. We got the gamer. I don't even remember this dude's name, to be honest, but he got rejected in like episode 1 of his season of Survivor. And we got Jonathan, who honestly probably would be a legend on this list, or not a legend, but he would be a Hall of Famer if he had ended up winning Survivor 50. I wanted him to win so bad, man, you have no idea. And we have Andy, who is, he's got gamer tendencies. He didn't actually strike out with any women, at least not that we saw on the show. But moving on, we got low to mid-tier winners, okay? Now, I'm not saying that these are bad players, although I think a few of them are bad players. But these are just those who did not have a notable enough win, or only played one time and didn't dominate, to where they are not worthy of being in the Hall of Fame, for various reasons that I'm not going to go into. Now, finally we get to the actual Hall of Famers. So I broke this down in 3 categories. We've got legends, we have Hall of Famers for cultural impact and gameplay. Now, what does that actually mean? A legend is somebody you could justify putting on the Survivor Mount Rushmore, okay? Be that for gameplay reasons, cultural impact reasons, or just status reasons within the Survivor ethos. Most of these people have some combination of the 3. All right? Cultural impact. Now, this category is sort of twofold, okay? Number 1, is how likely is the average person on the street to recognize one of these people? I'm especially thinking the early season, like seasons 1 and 2, okay? And Hall of Fame for gameplay, did their gameplay change the course of Survivor, or was it notable enough that they are worthy of being in the Hall of Fame? And I'll sort of break down each person as I get to them. But we'll go bottom to top like we've been doing. So we got Rob Cesternino. He's a Hall of Famer for his gameplay because he was really the first person to intentionally play the middle. He flopped back and forth between two opposing alliances. They were basically at his mercy because nobody else was willing to budge. And it carried him all the way to the final 3. And I would argue in a normal scenario, it would have won him the game. Tom Westman. I really wanted to actually put him in legend tier because I just love this guy. But his one win was so dominant that I think he can't not be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Tom had one extremely dominant win. Same as Yule, you know. Yule basically strong-armed the entire rest of the cast with his super idol, but he also utilized it to make extremely calculated moves. Alright, Yule was a dominant player. Ozzy, you're probably thinking, if you just watched Survivor 50, why is Ozzy on here? He's a terrible player. Well, he's on here because of the way he played the game. Nobody has ever played Survivor as a pure challenge beast before or since in the way Ozzy did. He won 6 of the 7 individual immunity challenges on his season. Okay? Or maybe that's not right. Anyway, he won a lot of challenges. Okay? He's a legend of the game. And I mean, not a literal legend because he's not on this list, but he is a legendary challenge beast. Amanda. Amanda was the first player to reach 100 days on Survivor Heroes vs. Villains. She made it into the final 3 of 2 very notable, very competitive seasons back to back. And yes, she had terrible final tribal councils at both, but I mean, really, that's her one gameplay flaw. She's personable, she's good at challenges, and on a personal note, in my opinion, Amanda is the best Survivor waifu of all time. I wish I could put her in both tiers. I wish there was 2 pictures of her so I could put her here in both. But Amanda is a Hall of Famer, no doubt. JT, he is the only Alabamian to win Survivor. Man, I was hoping Jonathan would win so bad. Anyway, JT, he played, numerically speaking, the most dominant game of all time. He played a perfect game, actually. And he's in the Hall of Fame because he just had one really dominant win, just like Tom and Yule. Kim, same thing as the others that I just said. Sierra, now you're probably wondering why in the world is Sierra on this list in the Hall of Fame? Because she really sort of put into words the notion that had been building of the big moves mentality that has been a part of Survivor basically ever since Survivor Second Chance, season 31. She's the one who put that into words. She's the one who got people thinking about their Survivor resume. Okay. Jeremy, he also made the Hall of Fame because of his work in Survivor 31. He really put into words the concept of using a meat shield. Okay. He utilized the bigger, stronger dudes around him as threats in front of him, whereas everybody before him had tried to get threats off the board. He purposely kept them on ahead of him. And Aubrey, she is probably one of 2 people who could have made the Hall of Fame based on her work on season 50, and she did. She won the game. Very notable female player, very, cerebral, which is not how women usually play the game, if we're being honest. Yeah, very good player. So, Hall of Fame for cultural impact. Now, I already explained this briefly, but one thing I like to use is the parent test. And the question is, do my parents know who this is? If the answer is yes, you are in the Hall of Fame. Okay? And that is true of Sue and Rudy. All right? Sue is the proprietor of probably the biggest moment in Survivor history with her speech to Kelly at the final tribal council. And Rudy, he was the fan favorite of season 1. 50 million people watched the Survivor season 1 finale. Okay? I mean, those are bigger numbers than any NBA finals has ever had, than any World Series has ever had. Okay? Not as big as the Super Bowl. Not quite, but still. It's in the realm of early Super Bowls as far as viewership. 50 million people. All right. Jerry, same thing. Her work on season 2, I mean, she was like the most hated woman in America at the time. And her dynamic with Colby, who is a legend of the game, undoubtedly, is also what propels her into the spot. Now, Elizabeth Hasselbeck is probably the only Survivor player to become a legit celebrity because of playing Survivor. She sort of parlayed that into a spot on The View, and then she married Matt Hasselbeck, and she is a household name, or at least she used to be, because of the fact that she played Survivor. Not because of her work on Survivor, but the fact that she played Survivor got her those opportunities. Ethan, I would argue, is a legend. Probably the nicest guy to ever win the show, at least publicly. Does a ton of charity work. Just a really good guy. Everybody loves him. Stephanie, she had that famous moment in Survivor Palau when she was the last one and she had to spend the night on the island all by herself, even though dozens of people have done it since then on Exile Island, but whatever. She was arguably the first to do it. And, I mean, nothing she's done since then has actually affected her ranking, but yeah, she's a legend for that one moment alone, especially to the female fans of Survivor, which are numerous, no doubt. Amber. Now, some of you are probably wondering why Amber is on here, but Amber is another person who passed the parent test because she won Survivor All-Stars and she married Boston Rob. I don't need any other reason to put her in the Hall of Fame. James. People forget this, but James won the fan favorite vote in back-to-back seasons. Okay? He won season Survivor China and Fans vs. Favorites. Two very well-regarded seasons. Two very important seasons for the history of the show. He won the fan favorite vote back-to-back. That's not easy to do. This dude was insanely popular at a very popular time in Survivor history. Okay? Cochran, I mean, ultimately Cochran is the biggest star in the post Heroes vs. Villains pre Second Chance era. Okay? Basically the 20s of Survivor. Second biggest star, arguably, other than this guy right here. But, yeah. Cochran, very popular for being sort of the downtrodden nerd archetype who also turned out to be an extremely good player when he was given a real chance to play in his second appearance. Spencer and Chaos Cass. So, this should be obvious, but the season that you play on Survivor has a massive impact on your legacy in Survivor history, okay? Some seasons are way more important than others. Like, for example, Survivor Cagayan is way more important in the history of Survivor than, say, Survivor Thailand. Okay, you ain't gonna see anybody from Survivor Thailand in this upper echelon. All right. So these are two very popular characters from a very popular season. They had an explosive dynamic. They're memorable. They're likable for different reasons. Maybe Cass was more hateable, but still, that's a great thing to be on reality TV. That'll get your name out there. And Joe, Survivor loved Joe so much that they tried to rig a season for him to win Edge of Extinction. I'm convinced that entire dynamic was created so that Joe would have the best possible opportunity to win the game. And he never did. And now he's sort of fallen out of the cultural remembrance, but in his day, he was incredibly popular. Even if people will try and tell you that he's not, he was. Now, these are the undeniable legends of the game right here, this upper echelon. And I'll tell you why for each one. Richard Hatch. He is the first winner of Survivor. He is still the most famous player in Survivor history. If you asked anybody over 40 years old in this country to name you one player of Survivor, the answer you are most likely to get is Richard Hatch. Okay? Period. Colby, probably the third most popular player in Survivor history, maybe fourth. He is incredibly popular. He was so popular, people were naming their kids after this dude. He parlayed it into minor celebrity status as well. He hosts that show Alone, which I think is on the Outdoor Channel. Basically the one where they drop you in the middle of the nowhere and they make you survive on your own, and you have to film yourself and stuff. It's basically, that show used to be a lot better before they realized that the meta was to just eat as much as possible early on and then lay around and do nothing and try to outstarve your competition. That became pretty lame, but it used to be a great show. Anyway, Boston Rob. If you ask somebody on the street to name one Survivor player and they're not saying Richard Hatch, they're saying Boston Rob. Okay? I mean, this dude is the quintessential Survivor player. He's great at every facet of the game. People will say he's overrated because he only won once out of 5 tries. But, I mean, we all know he should have won Survivor All-Stars, okay? Which, again, is an incredibly notable season. He married the winner of Survivor All-Stars. He and Amber are the Survivor royal family, period. Rupert was so popular in his day that during the Survivor All-Stars reunion show, America gave him $1 million because they loved him so much. I mean, that's all you need to say. Survivor All-Stars was Boston Rob's season through and through, and they still loved Rupert more. I mean, Rupert was that guy. And not to mention Pearl Islands. Again, one of the most notable seasons of Survivor history, just like Cagayan, like I said earlier. I mean, just an incredibly popular character of his time. And Johnny Fairplay is the yang to Rupert's yin, if you will. Okay. He was one of the best villains the show's ever had, maybe the best. People hated this dude. The dead grandma lie is still one of the most memorable moments of Survivor history, the most notable moments. Yeah. Sandra. Honestly, I don't know if Sandra's that great of a player, but she is the first 2-time winner, and she is undoubtedly a legend of the game. Yeah. I mean, she won, again, 2 incredibly notable seasons. She won Pearl Islands and she won Survivor Heroes vs. Villains. So, I mean, what more is there to say? That alone makes her a legend. Cirie, yeah, I mean, everyone loves Cirie, obviously. She's a great player. Manages to lose in some of the weirdest ways you ever could lose Survivor. I think season 50 is the first time she was actually voted out normally. Other than the final three, the surprise final three of Survivor fans versus favorites. But yeah, Sari, legend of the game, obviously. Everyone loves Sari. Parvati, she's a legend of the game too. Her back-to-back appearances, I mean, not literally back-to-back, but her appearances on fans versus favorites and heroes versus villains cemented her legend status. She's an excellent player. Entertaining in her own way. Do I find her one of my favorite characters of Survivor history? No, I don't. But she is in the top 10% for sure. Yeah, I mean, she's a great player. Coach, my favorite player of all time. People could argue that he's not a legend, but I think it's pretty undeniable. You can just tell by the way that Survivor cast many seasons after his time that Coach was a legend of the game. People could not get enough of Coach. Survivor tried to create so many Coach 2.0s, whether it be Philip or Debbie or this guy whose name I can't remember. He even looks like Coach, except he's like 10 years younger. I mean, everyone loves Coach. And he was great on season 50 as well. Even if he wasn't quite as good as he was in his younger years, he was still really great. And he managed to organize the troops on that one vote to get Dee out, which was just awesome. I find it hilarious that everybody's dumping on Coach and then the vote goes exactly the way he said it would. That was awesome. Anyway, Russell Hantz. Probably the second most influential player in Survivor history, right behind Richard Hatch himself. Russell really invented the idol hunting style of play that pretty much everybody utilizes nowadays. Hunt early and often for idols, play aggressively, take huge swings. I mean, the fact that Russell made it to the final three in back-to-back seasons, including the Super Bowl of Survivor, which is heroes versus villains, and he really did dominate the game after the midpoint. I mean, he's an undeniable legend of the game. And Tony, the greatest of all time. I mean, it's pretty undeniable. His work on Cagayan was awesome, even if he, I think, got pretty lucky at points. And then Winners at War. I mean, that's got to be the greatest game ever played. Just masterful, quiet dominance against the toughest cast ever, at least in terms of actual game ability. I mean, what can you say about Tony? He's the GOAT. Anyway, we'll call it there. And next Survivor video won't be for a long time, but I'll see you next time.